What are the options between De'Aaron Fox and the Spurs on a potential contract extension? Let's take a look. All right, so this Sunday, August 3rd, is an important date for the Spurs offseason calendar. That is the first date that the Spurs and De'Aaron Fox can agree to a contract extension, and Fox can sign the extension if both sides agree to an extension. So I'm going to go ahead and just talk about a little bit about a piece that I wrote this past week. It went up on Tuesday over on the spotupshot.com. It was called Extension Options for De'Aaron Fox and the Spurs. So what I'm going to go through here is just kind of explain some key pieces from some key points from that piece about a potential Fox extension. So again, Fox can sign on August 3rd up to a 4-year max extension for $222 million if both sides agree on that amount. All right, so first I want to begin with why Fox can potentially earn 4 years, a 4-year max contract for $222 million, where those numbers come from. So because Fox has spent 8 years in the NBA already, he's able to sign a max contract for up to 30% of the salary cap, which would be about $50 million this coming off season. And then every year it goes up by 8%. He would have 8% raises. So that gets you up to $222 million. So that's just a quick explainer on where that 4 years and that $222 million salary come from. So what I did in that piece was I looked at 3 different options for Fox, going from a shorter max all the way to the full 4 years. So a shorter deal would look like 2 years, $103 million. What this does is in that second year, 27-28, that allows, there's still some financial flexibility where the Spurs are still, they're going to be an over the cap team, but they're still far enough under the luxury tax and also the first apron that they can still make some moves. And despite Wemby's extension kicking in potentially in that summer of 27-28, then there's the 3-year option. So if Fox sends a 3-year max, it would be for 3 years for $160 million. This one gets a little bit tricky because now in 28-29, the final year of Fox's max extension, now Stephon Castle his extension would kick in. We don't know what Castle's extension would look like just yet, but again, the flexibility financially really depends on the number that Castle's max comes in, because now you have Wemby and you have Fox on max extensions in that 28-29 offseason. And then the last one would be if they go all the way to 4 years, the Spurs and Fox. And so a 4-year deal would look like 4 years, $222 million. This one gets a little bit more, I guess, financially constrained for the Spurs here in the offseason that year. So what's happening here is that in 29-30, the final year of Fox's extension, well, then Dylan Harper's rookie extension would kick in. And again, we don't know what number that would be, but again, a potential extension for Harper would kick in 29-30. So again, depending on Castle and Harper's numbers, if for their extensions, that could really put the Spurs over the tax and over that first apron, which means that you have limited flexibility financially when you have 2 players like Fox and Wemby on max extensions, plus you have Castle and Harper on some sort of extension. Again, I wouldn't know just yet if they get max extensions this early in their careers. But again, you still have 4 players, earning a lot of salary there. That's going to put you over the first apron and potentially over the tax as well. So again, read more on the spotupshot.com if you'd like to. I go into more figures there and show some different figures there. Also, another player to watch out for that summer in 29-30, if Fox gets a 4-year max, is that Carter Bryant. What if he really breaks through in the first 4 years of his career, and the Spurs need to give him an extension as well? Well, then you're putting Harper and Carter Bryant on extensions, as well as having Wemby, as having Fox, and having Castle. So again, I think that going the full 4 years, $222 million, the real financial constraints for the Spurs do happen in that 4th year for Fox. Again, there's a little bit more flexibility in years 2 and 3 of that deal, but in that 4th year where he that's going to be the year where it's really going to be tough on the Spurs' cap sheet. So again, that's if the Spurs and the Fox were to agree on a 4-year max for $222 million. Those are the 3 different scenarios: a 2-year deal, a 3-year deal, and a 4-year deal. Something I also wrote about in that piece was looking at shorter deals for Fox to be able to re-enter free agency. So the first deal I wrote about was a 2-year deal for $103 million at the max again, but this time there's a player option the second year. What this does is that it allows Fox to go back into free agency with over 10 years of experience in 27-28, where he could get a larger salary in year 1 of a new contract, up to 35% of the cap, which is $61 million at only 29 years old. Again, this isn't again. This again allows Fox to jump back into free agency earlier, but it is a little bit riskier because now he has to stay healthy in that year right before that 26, 27 year. Plus he has to remain productive, where either the Spurs or another team that has interest would want to give him a contract close to that $61 million at 29 years old. So again, that's the shortest option, 2 years for $103 million. Then there's another option of 3 years for $160 million, like I talked about earlier, but this time putting a player option after that third season. And so where he can again get back into free agency. So again, if Fox were to declined his player option in 28-29, then at 30 years old he could jump back into free agency, where he'd be able to earn up to $64 million in year one of a new contract. And so this one again is very risky because now he's 30 years old going back to free agency. I don't know if teams would give him $64 million, but at least maybe they could find, he and whatever team's going to sign him, whether that's the Spurs or another team that has interest, maybe they could find a middle ground where he earns more than the $57 million he would have earned in that third year with the Spurs on a straight up 3-year max. And so again, it's more about finding that middle ground number. And again, this one's very risky as well for Fox because again, he has to stay healthy the year before and he has to remain productive so that teams can offer him a nice contract going back into free agency after that 28-29 season. If things aren't working out, the part about this 3-year deal is that if things aren't working out for Fox the year before in 28 or just 28-29 or right before that, then let's just say he's not having a good season. Well, then all he has to do is opt into his contract where he's still going to earn that $57 million with the Spurs and be back on their books. So again, I was just more looking for shorter deals in the event that the Spurs and Fox don't come to an agreement on a 4-year deal, because of course we know that the Spurs ended up getting Dylan Harper in the draft, and so again they're going to have a future backcourt of Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper potentially, and so we'll just see how long Fox kind of fits in that equation. Is he going to continue with the Spurs for 4 years, or do they look at shorter deals just knowing that? And maybe Fox too, like I said, if he can reach that, right now he's at 8 years of experience, so he's only getting 30% of the cap on a max, which is about $50 million. But if he can jump back into free agency in a year or two or 2 or 3 years, then he's hit that 35% marker of being in the NBA, where he gets 35% of the cap. And now that's much more of a larger contract, whether that's $61 million in 27-28 or $64 million, up to $64 million in 28-29. But again, he is getting older at that point, 29-30, but still, in the prime of his career there. So again, those are just some options I looked at in that piece. It's shorter deals for Fox. Then the last scenarios I looked at were less than max options for Fox. So here he's basically leaving some money on the table in terms of total salary. So maybe he agrees to a 3-year deal for $150 million. So again, he's leaving about $5 million less compared to if he took the max in overall salary. Or he agrees to a 4-year deal, $215 million, which again, over the 4 years, he's leaving about $6 million left on the table compared to the max that he could have earned at $222 million about that salary. So again, if you want to jump into more of these numbers and scenarios that I wrote about, visit that piece over on the spotupshot.com. It is called Extension Options for De'Aaron Fox and the Spurs. Thank you for watching, and make sure to hit that subscribe button.